I'll recreate this dynamic Tableau dashboard using workout data. I'll build 3D donuts, a radial chart with icons, and an interactive calendar to navigate between months. I'll also break down key metrics with a dot plot, tree map, and histogram. And I'll show how to add a light dark mode toggle to instantly switch the entire dashboard's theme for a custom look. I'll start by connecting to a data source and choose an Excel file. And I'll use this fitness sample dataset that I created. You can see this is a simple dataset with each workout and a few details about it. On a new dashboard, I'll start by adjusting the size to make it wider. Then I'll make the object type floating and bring in an image. And I'll build this full dashboard and visuals in light mode first. Then in the last 10 minutes, I'll show how to add the dark mode feature that updates the entire layout. The first visual I'll build for this dashboard are the progress donut charts, and I'm going to give it a 3D effect. I'll start by creating a donut chart by typing 0 into the rows twice. Then under the first mark, I'll change the mark type to a pie, and I'll move measure values under the marks. I want the measure values to determine the angle of the slices of the pie. Then within the measure values, I'll start by typing the count D of the workout IDs. And since this shows progress, I need to have a goal. So I'm going to create a parameter called the workout goal. And I'm going to set the current value to 400. Then within the measure value shelf, I'll type out the workout goal parameter minus the count distinct of the workout IDs. I'll remove all the measures that I didn't just type out. That way we're left with the number of workouts and the number of workouts remaining to reach the workout goal. I'll move measure names in to determine the color of the slices of the pie. And if this was a normal donut chart, I would use the second mark and make this a circle. Then right-click on the sum of zeros to make this a dual axis. And adjusting the size of the circle, you can see how we get a donut. But to get a 3D effect to this, I'm going to change the mark type to a shape. And under shapes, I'll choose more shapes. And under my custom shape palette, I loaded in a circle that has a shadow effect around it. I have another video for how to load shapes, and I'll include the link to this image in the description. After adjusting the size of the shape and the pie, you can see how the gradient shadows give it a 3D effect by creating the illusion of depth. And we don't need these headers, so I'm going to right-click to remove them. Swapping in custom shapes instead of a blank circle is an easy way to level up your pie chart. It makes it feel more modern and polished and adds a touch of personality. Next, I'll use the legend to edit the colors. Right now, the red section represents the portion completed, so I'm going to switch it to a blue color. And the teal part is what's remaining, so I'll change it to a light gray. And just like with a normal donut chart, we can add text to the center even though it's a shape. So within the second marks, I'm going to type the count distinct of the workout IDs, which is the number of workouts, and divide it by the workout goal parameter. This will give me the percent of workouts completed. Then I'll make this a label. I'll right-click format on it so I can change the number formatting to be a percentage with no decimals. Then I'll use label within the mark to format the text itself. I'll edit this so that it's Tableau medium, larger, and a slightly lighter color. Then I'll use the alignment to center this vertically so we can get the text inside the donut chart. I'll also format the worksheet, and under shading, I'll choose none. For the borders, I'll remove the row and column dividers. And for the lines, I'll remove the zero lines. And because these are progress donut charts and will likely go above 100%, I want to account for that scenario. So right now, if I change the workout goal to something like 200, you can see it's over the 100%, but the donut chart doesn't reflect that. So I'm going to alter this so that the donut chart is filled once it reaches 100%. I'll adjust the count of the workout ID to be if the count of the workout ID is greater than or equal to the workout goal, then show the workout goal. Else do the count distinct of the workout IDs. So this is basically saying if the workouts go over the goal, we cap it at the goal. If not, we show the actual number of workouts. And that's going to be for the blue portion of the pie chart. For the second formula, I'll edit this to say if the count distinct of the workout IDs is greater to or equal to the workout goal, then output 0, else do the workout goal minus the count distinct of workout IDs. And this one's just saying if you've already hit the workout goal, show 0. If not, show how many workouts are left to hit the goal. So now when we're over 100%, the entire donut chart is filled in. And if we're under 100%, you can see the donut chart adjusts to represent that percentage. Next, I'll go to the dashboard so I can add our worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and resize it to be in this container. You can see it's not filling in the whole space, even though the worksheet is set to fill the entire view. To fix that, I'll go back to the worksheet and increase the size of both the shape and the pie chart. And now we have a donut chart that shows how close you are to hitting your workout goal. And once you hit it, the whole thing fills in. Donuts are a super easy way to track progress, and swapping the circle for a shape gives it a fun 3D effect. I'm not going to spend time showing it, but I basically did the same thing for the other two metrics. I also added a space in front of the percentages and made the text more bold. Now that we've got the progress for each metric, I want to show the actual metric values too. And this part is super easy. So I'll create a new worksheet and call it KPIs. And we can do this all within one worksheet. I'll start by dragging measure names to the columns and measure values to the marks. Then I'll make the measure values text. And the count of the workout activity is the count of the data within the dataset. So I'm going to change this to be the count distinct of the workout IDs. Now we have the same three metrics that we used for each progress donut. I'll reorder these and change the duration to the average. And I don't like these long titles, they're a bit too technical. To customize the titles, I'll right-click on the header and hit Edit Alias. Then I'll call this something more simple like Workouts. And I'm good with the calories burned title, but I'm going to edit the average duration to remove the word minutes, because I want to include it after the actual value instead. That way it reads more naturally. Then I'll add measure names into the marks and make this text. That way I can fully customize how I want the text to look. Using text within the mark, I'll format the text. I'll move measure names below measure values. Then I'll make measure values Tableau bold and a really big size font. And for measure names, I'm going to make this Tableau medium and a much smaller font. Then I'll lighten the shade up just a little bit. Using the alignment, I'll center this horizontally. And we don't need the headers anymore, so I'm going to remove them. The number of calories is a bit hard to read, so I'm going to format the number. I'll make this a custom number with no decimals in the thousands. Then I'll format the average duration so I can change the number formatting to a custom number. I'll remove the decimal places, and for the suffix, I'm going to add the word min. And now it reads more naturally, like 44 minutes is the average duration. To remove these lines, I'll format the worksheet, and under borders, I'll go to the row divider and choose none. Now we have some easy to read KPIs that are going to complement our donut charts. I'll add this worksheet to the dashboard and hide the title. Then I'll set this to fill the entire view, and I'll resize it above our donut charts. You can see there's some white space showing between the charts. To clean that up, I'll format the worksheet, and under shading, I'll set it to none. Now we have our three main metrics and the progress towards each of their goals. I also want to break down the workouts by type, and I think a radial chart is perfect for that. I built a ton of radial charts in past videos, so I'm not going to walk through every step again, but I'll have the link to these videos in the description. For this one, I had a new idea of how to build on a radial chart. I'll start with the basic structure of a radial chart and add icons or images at the start of each ring. These will represent the different workout types, and it's a simple way to make the chart more visual and intuitive. I actually found this really easy to implement. All you need to do is type 0 into the columns. Then right-click to make it a dual axis. And you can see these circles, which will eventually be our shapes, starting at 0. So I'm going to right-click to edit the 0 axis. And I'll give this a custom range between -1 and 5. This effectively pushes the circles to the left, since the circles will always be at 0. You can play around with the fixed start and fixed end to adjust where you want to position them. I'm going to keep the range at -1 to 5 because I like that position. And to make these actual shapes instead of circles, I'll change the second mark type to a shape. Then I'll make the workout type, which is the category that each ring represents, determine the shape. And we don't need the second set of shapes at the bottom, so I'm going to remove the points bin. And I'll remove all the other fields except for the workout type. So now the workout type is determining the shape next to each ring. I'll use the legend to edit the shapes, and I've already loaded my shapes to my palette in here, so I'm just going to go through and assign the different icons to the workout types. but I have another video on how to load images to be used as shapes in Tableau. Then using the size slider in the second mark, I can adjust the size of our shapes. And within the first mark, I'm going to start by removing the measure names coloring. That way it's only colored by workout type. I'll use color in the mark to edit the colors. And I'm just going to go through and assign colors that match each workout type icon. That way it keeps it consistent and clear. And we don't need these headers anymore, so I'm going to remove them. Then on the dashboard, I'll add a radial chart worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and resize it to be within this container. But you can see the icons are overlapping a little bit, so I'll go back to the radial chart worksheet and use the size slider within the shapes mark to decrease the size. These icons do more than just look good. They instantly connect the viewer to the meaning behind each ring without relying on text. It doesn't take much effort, it saves space, and it instantly makes your dashboard more fun. And the last thing I'll do for this visual is add a text box for the title. I'll call this visual the workout type and make it a little bit more bold, a little bit bigger, and a little bit darker. Then I'll center it within our container. Next, I'll be adding a calendar view that looks, feels, and interacts like a real calendar. It'll show every day of the month, even if dates are missing from your dataset. And I'll add arrows so users can switch between months, just like a regular calendar. I'm going to use it to display the workouts, color-coded by type so you can quickly spot patterns. And I created this background in Canva, so I added some binder hooks, but it works just as well with a plain background. I'll start by building the calendar structure on a new worksheet. And I was honestly shocked at how easy it is to build a calendar within Tableau. I'll start by moving the date field into the columns. Then I'll right-click so I can make this a month. I'll add the date field again into the columns, and then right-click, go to More, and choose Weekday. Within the rows, I'll type the week of the date field. And you can see this gives us months across and the weeks down. I'm also going to pull date into the filters so I can filter for just 1 month within the dataset. Then to get numbers for the days within the marks, I'll type the index function. And I'll make this text. Then I'll right-click, go to Compute Using, and choose Table Across, then Down. But you can see there's missing dates within our dataset, so they're not showing within the table. The trick around this is to right-click on the week of date field, then turn on Show Missing Values. And now we've got every date in the month showing, even if it's not in the dataset. And this is because the index function fills in the layout based on position, not the actual data values. So even the missing dates still have a spot on the calendar. Next, I'll quickly format so this looks like an actual calendar. I'll start by removing the week header and hiding the date field label. Then I'll format the weekday headers so that the date format is an abbreviation. And I want to center these horizontally. Then for the shading, I'm going to remove the row banding. For the borders, I'm going to move the level to the right so it's a more detailed level, and this will give us that proper grid structure. But for the column divider, I don't need the header border. And once I drag this down, you can see it looks more like a calendar. Using text within the marks, I'm going to align these so that they're horizontally on the left and vertically on the top. To keep the missing dates while still adding detail, I have a quick workaround, but first let me show you why it's needed. If I try adding more detail like the workout ID, I have to uncheck Show Missing Values and remove the index function, just to see the number of workouts per day. But I want to be able to see all the dates and the details in a way that makes sense. So instead I'm going to go back to what we originally had, with just the calendar structure. Then I'll right-click on this worksheet to duplicate it. And we're going to overlay this new worksheet, which is going to be the calendar content. And here's where I'll add some detail. So I'll start by pulling the workout ID into the marks. Then I'll right-click on our week date so I can uncheck Show Missing Values. And I'll remove the index function from the marks. Then I'll bring the workout type in to determine the color of each square. And you can use the mark type to customize this. So you could change it to a circle, or you could change it to a shape and make the workout type determine the shape. But for this, I'm going to make the workout type a color and change the mark type to a pie. That way, if we have more than one workout type within a day, we can see the split within the circle instead of having multiple circles. So when I edit the filter and change this to a different month like April, you can see we have one day where there's 2 workouts and we have another day where there's 3 workouts. I'll do some quick formatting on this so that we can overlay it. I'll start by hiding the headers. Then I'll format the worksheet, and for the shading, I'll choose None. Under borders, I'm going to remove the row and column dividers. And now I'm ready to go to the dashboard and add our calendar structure and calendar content worksheets. I'll start by hiding the titles of both of the worksheets. Then I'll make sure both of these are set to fill the entire view. I'll move the structure of the calendar to be within our calendar container. And since my calendar container isn't a completely white background, I'm going to format the worksheet to remove the shading. And because this is technically a table, we can format it just like one. We can adjust the font size, type, and color for the months and weekdays. And I won't show all these small formatting changes, I'm just going to fast forward to the next step. To add the details to the calendar, I just need to drag this over the calendar. And I'll resize it so that the pies sit in their date boxes. And since our radial chart already acts as a legend, I'm going to remove the default legend that comes with the calendar. We changed our calendar content so that it was for April, but our calendar structure is still for March. So I'm going to go in and change this to April. But instead of using a filter like this for the months, we can do something more intuitive. So I'm going to add left and right arrow buttons that lets users switch between months in the calendar. I'll create a new worksheet to design these calendar buttons. And I want users to have two options, the previous month and the next month. So I'm going to create a parameter to store these options. I'll call this calendar parameter and set the data type to date. Then I'll change the current value to something that's actually in our dataset. We need to figure out which dates are from the month before or after the one we selected in our parameter. So I'm going to create a calculated field to check the dates and label them as previous or next so we can use it in navigation. So this first line I'm typing checks if the month from the parameter matches the month after subtracting 1 month from the date field. Then it labels it as previous. For the second condition, I'll copy the first part because it's going to have the same structure. I'll paste it, and all I need to change is the -1 to a +1. That way it's checking if the parameter matches the month after adding a month to the date field. Then I'll change previous to next. And I have all these calculated fields in my description if you want to just copy and paste. To build the structure, I'll start by moving this field into the columns. And I don't want to include nulls, so I'm going to filter out the null. That way we're left with just the next and the previous. I'll also add this field to the marks and change the mark type to a shape. That way I can have this field, which has previous and next values, determine the shape. And I can go through and assign the next value a right-facing arrow and the previous value a left-facing arrow. And it's more intuitive to have the previous and next switch, so I'm just going to sort it in the descending order. So now we have our previous and our next buttons. For some quick formatting, I'm going to hide the header, and then I'll format the worksheet so I can remove the shading. To get rid of those lines, I'll go to borders and remove the row divider. To make the action run on these buttons, I also need to create a calculated field. And this one is used to change the month based on which button the user clicks. So this first line I'm typing is like if the user clicks the previous button, it subtracts a month from the current calendar selection. And this next condition I'm typing says if they click next, it adds a month to the current selection. The result of this field is a new date value that takes into account whether the user clicked previous or next. And that gets fed back into the calendar parameter so the calendar updates to the new month. So I'm just going to bring this field into the marks so that it's in the view, and then I'll make this a day. Now going back to the dashboard, I'll add our calendar buttons worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and then set it to the entire view. And I'll resize it above my calendar, but in line with my month. To make this interactive, I'll go to the dashboard tab at the top and hit actions. I'll add an action and choose a parameter action. And I'll start off by unchecking all of the source sheets that is in our calendar button worksheet, because we want the arrows in that worksheet to drive the action. And when the action is run, I want it to change the calendar parameter using the day of the action calculated field we created. Now when I click the right arrow that represents the next month, you can see the month in the tooltip changed. But to get the calendar to update based on these buttons, we need to go back to the calendar worksheet. I'll start by removing our current date filter. And the last calculated field we'll need will tell our calendars which period is selected. And this is super simple, it's just the month of the calendar parameter equal to the month of the date field. And I only have 1 year within my data set, but if you had more, you could add the year of the calendar parameter equal to the year of the date field. Then I'll drag this into the filters instead of our date field, and I'll select true. I'm going to right-click on the filter to apply this to our calendar content worksheet as well. Then I'll go to that worksheet and remove our previous date filter. And now our calendar worksheets are linked to our arrow buttons, allowing us to go forward and back in time. I'll remove these extra things that we don't need, but you can see when I hover over one of the arrows, there's information in there we don't need as well. So I'm going to go back to the worksheet and edit the tooltip to remove everything that's in there. And while I'm in here, I'm also going to increase the size of these arrows. This calendar lets users view their data in a familiar month-to-month layout, with the ability to switch between months, see every date even if it's missing in your data, and easily spot patterns through color and layout. I'm going to break down each of the 3 key metrics with its own visual, and I'll start with the number of workouts. On a new worksheet, I'll start by building a dot plot to show the number of workouts by month, and these only take a few seconds. The detail I want to show in the dot plot is the number of workouts, so I'll start by dragging the workout ID to the marks, and you can see a square appear for each individual workout. I want to display this across the months, so I'll move the date field to the rows, right-click, and change it to months. And now we have a square for each workout, grouped by month. To turn this into a true dot plot, I'll change the mark type from square to a circle. Then I'll drag the workout type to the marks and make this a color. That way each dot is color-coded by the workout type. But right now the dots are ordered by workout ID, since it's the first field in the marks card. And I want to group them by workout type instead, so I'm going to reorder these so that workout type is first. For formatting, I'll start by hiding the field label. Then I'll format the worksheet, and for the font, I'll make this a little bit lighter in Tableau medium. Then I'll change the date format to an abbreviation. Under shading, I'll remove the shading of the worksheet. And under borders, I'll remove the row divider. Now we have a simple clean dot plot in seconds, where each dot represents a workout, colored by its type and grouped by month. I'll go to our dashboard to bring on our dot plot representing the number of workouts. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and set this to the entire view. Dot plots are powerful because they show details like the individual data points, while still making it easy to see the overall trends. Like noticing that you can see fewer green dots in the winter, showing that pickleball isn't played much when it's cold, but it picks up again when the weather warms up. The next metric I'll break down in a visual is the calories burned. So I'll start on a new worksheet to create a tree map for showing calories burned by workout type. And tree maps also only take a few clicks. So I'll start by double-clicking the metric, which is the calories burned. Then I'll double-click the field I want to segment the data by, which is workout type. Using Show Me in the top right corner, I'll select the tree map. And right now this tree map is colored by the number of calories burned. But since each square represents a workout type, I'll switch workout type to color so it's easy to tell them apart instantly. Then to add some context to this, I'll start by dragging workout type to the marks, and I'll make this a label. Then I'll drag the calories burned to the marks and make it a label as well. I'll drag the calories burned to the marks again, and this time I'll right-click on it, go to Quick Table Calculation, and choose percent of total. Then I'll make this a label as well. And I want to format this so the number formatting is a percentage with no decimals. Now to format the text itself, I'll use label within the marks. I'll edit the text, and I'm going to start by rearranging these. I'll bring the workout type first, then do the number of calories burned, and then the percent of total calories burned. I'll change all of this to Tableau regular, make the metric size 10, and the workout type size 11 and bold. You can also use color in the marks to change the border color. But I'm going to keep this at automatic. And you can use color in the marks to decrease the opacity so they're not as vibrant. I'll keep this at 100% for now and go to the dashboard to add our tree map worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet, resize it, and I want to make sure it's set to fill the entire view. And our tree map already acts as a legend, so I'm going to remove the default legend. Tree maps make it easy to compare categories by size and color. For example, you can quickly see that running contributed 35% of the total calories burned this year, even though it wasn't even the most frequent workout. The last visual before adding the dark mode switch will be for the third metric, duration. I'm looking to see how different durations occur. And because they can be grouped into time intervals, I'm going to use a histogram. Right now, I just have a field that shows the durations for each workout, but it's not grouped into any intervals. So I'll right-click on the duration field and go to Create and select Bins to create those intervals. I'll set the bin size to 5, which means the workout durations are grouped in 5-minute intervals. Then I'll pull our bins into the columns. And in the rows, I'm going to type the measure that I want to display, which is the count distinct of the workout IDs. And you can see it creates something like a bar chart. But while a bar chart compares groups like the workout types, a histogram shows how data falls into ranges like the workout durations. To customize this histogram, you can use color in the marks to pick a color for the bars. In Tableau, a bin groups data into intervals. Since we're using 5-minute intervals, a bin labeled 20 includes any values between 20 and 25 minutes. So the number 20 represents the starting point of that interval. For example, if I had a workout that lasted 20 minutes, it would go in the 20 bin. But if I had a workout that was 25 minutes, it would jump to the next bin starting at 25. And you can see most workouts fall into the 40 and 45-minute bins, while there's very few workouts that fall in the really short or really long bins. I have another video where I show how to customize bin labels, but for now, I'm going to leave these as just a single number. For formatting, I'll start by hiding the header and hiding the field label. Then I'll format the worksheet, and I'm going to remove the shading. Under lines, I'll remove the zero lines and the axis rulers. Then I'll go to the Rows tab to remove the grid lines. I'm also going to right-click on our bins to format them so that I can make them a little bit bolder and a little bit lighter of a shade. Now we can add this last visual to the dashboard. I'll pull in the histogram worksheet, then resize it and hide the title of the worksheet. A histogram works well for showing the duration by number of workouts, because it groups workout times into intervals, making it easy to see which durations are the most common and spot any patterns or outliers. And I'm going to align everything to make it look clean. The dark mode toggle will allow users to switch between light and dark themes. It adjusts the background, the text, and the color of the visuals depending on which mode is selected. On this new worksheet, I'll build the toggle. And all we need is one parameter and one calculated field. Super simple. So I'm going to start by creating the parameter. And I'll call this mode parameter. Then change the data type to a string. And I'll do a list so I can enter the text light and dark. So these are basically the options that the users will have to select. Then I'll create a calculated field which will be responsible for changing the mode. So what I'm typing is saying if the parameter is set to light, then switch it to dark. And if it's set to dark, then switch it back to light. So you can see when I bring this field into the marks and hover over the square, it says dark. And that's the opposite of what our parameter is set to, which is light. But a square is not a very good indication of anything, so I'm going to change the mark type to a shape. Then I'll make the mode switch determine what the shape is. To add some interactivity, I'll go to the dashboard to add our mode toggle worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and then resize it to be in the corner. Then I'll set this to fill the entire view. And to add the functionality, I need to go to the dashboard tab at the top and click Actions. And I'm going to add a change parameter action for the mode. For the source sheets, I'll start by unchecking everything that isn't the mode toggle worksheet. Then I'll target the mode parameter using the mode switch as the source field. So when I click on the circle that represents dark, you can see it changes to a square which represents light. Since the parameter controls the toggle, it's always going to be the opposite. And it doesn't really matter which is which, as long as everything is adjusted consistently. So I'll start by editing the shapes for the switch to make them more intuitive. I created these in Canva in about a minute, but you can use any image you want. And at the end of the video, I'll show some options I created and include links to the images in the description. And it's a little bit small, so I'm going to go back to the worksheet so I can increase the size using the slider. And you can see I chose to make the toggle image match the mode switch calculated field. So both are for the light mode, instead of reflecting the parameter value. It doesn't really matter, but I think it's more intuitive since we'll be using the mode switch to control the worksheet colors, while the parameter is just storing the variable behind the scenes. And I don't want this white background, so I'm going to format the worksheet so I can remove the shading of it. And that flipped the switch when I clicked on it, so I'm going to go ahead and edit the shape. And since I want the shape to match the switch value instead of the parameter, I'm going to choose the image I want for the dark mode. And now we just need to go through and pick the different backgrounds and colors we want for the dark mode. I'll start with the background by creating a new worksheet. Currently, my background is an image on the dashboard, but I found a way to create a dynamic background that switches by using a worksheet. So I'll create a calculated field for X and just put the minimum of 1. Then I'll do the same thing for Y. This is going to allow us to treat the worksheets like a fixed canvas. I'll move X into the columns and Y into the rows. To add the images, I'll go to the Map tab at the top. Then go to Background Images and choose our data source. I'll add an image and choose our dark mode background. Then I'll set X from 0 to 2 and Y from 0 to 2. Under Options, I'll add a condition. So I only want this dark background to show when the mode switch has the dark value. But we don't have mode switch within our view yet, so I'm going to drag it to the marks. And now the image populates. It's a bit distorted, but that's because I need to edit the axis and give it the same range as our background image, which is 0 to 2. And I'll do the same thing with the x-axis, giving it a custom fixed range between 0 and 2. We don't need these headers, so I'm going to remove them. And we don't want this random circle in the middle, so I'm going to go to Color in the Marks to decrease the opacity to 0%. Then I'll show our mode parameters so we can switch it to the other option. But remember, these are flipped, so this is actually light mode. I'll repeat that same process by adding a background image. But this time I'll choose my light background. I'll keep the ranges from 0 to 2, but this time my condition will be for this image to only show when the mode switch has the value light. Now we can use the parameter to control which background image is visible. To incorporate this into the dashboard, I'll start by removing the current background image. Then I'll add our new background worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet, then use the Layout tab so I can set the positioning to 0, 0, and the width and the height to match the size of the dashboard. Then under the item hierarchy, I'll drag this worksheet to the very back to make sure it sits behind everything else. And now we have our light mode dashboard back to what it was before. And we can use the toggle to switch it to the dark background. But we still need to pick the colors for the visuals when the background is dark, because these are not easy to read. I'll start by focusing on the visuals that are only colored based on worksheet properties, and not other fields like the workout type. So I'm going to start with the KPIs. On the worksheet, I'll bring the mode switch formula into the marks card, and use it to control the text color. This is why I chose to align my color scheme with the mode switch instead of the parameter, so I don't get confused when assigning colors. And since we're in dark mode, I'll set the value color to white, so it stands out against the dark background. And going back to the dashboard, you can see the values for the KPIs standing out against the dark background. But since the switch field is determining the color, I need to toggle it back to the light version so I can edit the text color for the KPIs when we're in light mode. And I'll make it a dark color so it stands out against our light background. Now we basically introduce conditional coloring based on the selected mode, light or dark. I'm not going to show this part because it's repeating the same process, but I've already applied this to all the visuals that aren't colored by another field like workout type. I'll turn this back to dark mode to show how to make the colors respond for the visuals that are colored by another field. And the nice part is we only need to assign colors for one visual, then we can apply it to the rest. So I'm going to assign the colors within the Radial chart worksheet. And right now this visual is being colored by the workout type field. I'll add the mode switch field under workout type and make it a color as well. The order doesn't really matter, but we just need to make it consistent across our visuals. Now I'm assigning bright colors to the visual so it stands out against the dark background. And all we need to do to apply this to another worksheet is go to that worksheet and drag the mode switch field under the workout type and make it a color. And you can see as long as these are in the same order and they're both used to color, we get consistent coloring across the worksheets. So I'm going to quickly go through and do this for the rest of the worksheets that use workout type to color the visual. Now all of our visuals are colored for the dark mode. I'll switch this back to light mode and assign the colors on the Radial worksheet for all the visuals that use workout type as the color. And these are just the muted colors I used originally that go well with my light background. Now all the visuals colors respond based on whether light or dark mode is selected. But the text for the visuals titles isn't easy to read. I'll show two methods for making these titles dynamically adjust to the mode. And the first method works well if you're dealing with a single standalone title, while the second method is better if you want to update multiple titles at once. The first method utilizes the title of a worksheet. I'll create a calculated field for the title when it's in light mode. This will be if the mode switch equals light, then do workout type, which is the title of my visual. Else just do 2 quotes with nothing inside. I'll duplicate this field and then edit it and change light to dark. Then I'll move both of these fields into my view so I can use it in the title of the worksheet. I'll edit the title of my worksheet, remove what's in there, and insert both of these fields. Against the light background, I want a dark color, so I don't need to change that. But against the dark background, I need a light color, so I'm going to make it white. Then I'm going to make it a little more bold since it's a title. On the dashboard, I'll go to the worksheet, hit the drop-down arrow, and choose to add the title. I'll remove our old title, and I want to edit this title so that it's centered like it was before. Now we have a dynamic title that adjusts its text color based on the selected mode. Since this method uses calculated fields, it's not always ideal for multiple titles. So my second method is to create a new worksheet, and start by adding any field, which I'll do the mode switch field, to the marks. Then make it a label. Using text within the marks, edit the text. Here's where I'll type out all my titles, which is workouts, calories, and duration. I'll change the text to Tableau regular and size 15 to match the rest of our titles. Then I'll just start typing a bunch of spaces between each title. And I never know exactly how many spaces to add, so I just play around with it until it looks right on the dashboard. Then I'll add our mode switch field to the marks and make it determine the color, just like it does for our KPIs. On the dashboard, I'll add our titles worksheet. I'll hide the title of the worksheet and position the titles over their visuals. I'll also remove our original titles that weren't dynamic. And you can see the spacing isn't perfect, but it's okay because you can go back to the worksheet, edit the text, and adjust how many spaces are between each title. And wow, that spacing worked out perfectly. I'm going to switch this to dark mode so that I can format the worksheet and remove the white background. That way we can actually see the white text. Now we can toggle between light and dark mode and everything automatically adjusts. I'll show some additional customization options to polish the look. I'll start with the radial chart since these shapes stay the same color whether we're in light or dark mode. And I have a couple options here. I can either make the shapes match the coloring by applying the same color settings to the shapes mark. So I'll pull workout type into the shapes mark and make it a color. Then I'll pull the mode switch into the mark and make it a color as well. And now the color of the shapes match the visuals for each mode. The alternative, which I think looks way better, is to have shapes for each version. But you can see when I try to add a second field as a shape, it doesn't work. It just replaces what was previously determining the shape. But if you select both of the fields, then right-click, you can create a combined field. Then we can drag this into the marks instead as our shape. And I'll remove the coloring because we don't need that anymore. And now we have 2 separate sets of values we can assign shapes to. So with the light version on, I'm just assigning all the original shapes. Then I'll switch this to the dark mode. And this time I'll edit the shapes and assign different images. So it's the same pictures as the light version, but with different coloring. I prefer this method because we're not stuck with solid colors. Like the girl's brown hair in the first image stays the same, but her workout outfit changes colors when we switch modes. The next little touch-up is to remove these buttons for the background worksheet. Just go to the Map tab at the top and choose Map Options. Then uncheck all of these. Now we have no more annoying buttons when we hover. If you have a visual that doesn't work well in both modes and changes affect both versions, I have a workaround. For example, say I really needed the tree map text to be white in dark mode and black in light mode. My workaround is to duplicate the worksheet and use the second version for the dark mode. To set up the dynamic zone visibility, I'll start by dragging mode switch into the filters. And since this is the dark mode worksheet, I'll set up the filter condition to be when the mode switch equals dark. So this is saying only show this worksheet when we're in dark mode. I'll set up the same dynamic zone visibility for the light worksheet, except this time my condition will be when the mode switch equals light. And you can see the visual disappears when we're on the light worksheet because currently we're set to dark mode. Now on the worksheet for the dark version, I can change anything, like making the text white or bold, even changing the transparency or border colors, and it won't affect our tree map for light mode. On the dashboard, I'll add our dark version of the tree map. I'll hide the title of the worksheet, resize it so it's where our other tree map is, and then set this to the entire view. So we use dynamic zone visibility to switch between two worksheets with different formatting. One is visible in light mode, and the other is visible in dark mode. The last thing I'll do here is based on a question I got about making a toggle switch in another dashboard respond with a single click instead of double clicking. I figured out that if you edit the action for the toggle, you can set clearing the selection to one of the values, so I'll choose light mode for this one. This makes it automatically revert to that value when the selection is cleared. So the toggle will switch instantly between modes with just one click. And then really quick, I just wanted to show a couple other options that I added for the images for the dark and light mode toggle. And I'll have both of these linked in the description as well.